cars have bolted, and Craig Lowndes has gone off at the rear of the field at turn 4, right in the middle of the complex. 7 of a second up on Greg Murphy in that first lap. Let's have a look what happened to Craig Lowndes here. Oh, he gets turned around. I think it was he and Paul Morris that made some contact there right near the back of the field. A little bit hard to know precisely what's unfolded there, but it doesn't appear as though there's any damage. On board with Scaife. Oh, she just bogs. Is that too much wheel spin, or did it bog? I think he's actually had to have another stab at the clutch to get it mobile. And there goes Greg Murphy, who has a better set of tyres available in this one as well. He's been solid as a rock in the championship so far. Look at the battles back in the field. Cameron McConville coming at them. I think he's off to Kalgoorlie later this week. Some promo work.
Cameron McConville actually is racing here as Mark Larkham just doesn't make turn 1. In the end, evasive action, ends up on the grass and spins it back. That was a weird one from Larkham. I was just going to tell you about Cameron McConville, who comes to this race not only, as you mentioned, Neil, with a whole stack of corporate activity going on around him, but he's got a very stiff and sore neck. Basically means that he can't look over his right shoulder. Anything to the left is fine, but over the right he's been having physio, and he damaged it again doing some cycling training throughout the week. Marcus Ambrose on lap 3 of 42 shoots out to the front. This is the incident involving Larkham.
It's a touch there, and it was Craig Baird that made the contact, and round goes Mark. Now Ambrose on that last lap are 60 flat. Remember that the tyre sets that they've chosen to start this race by and large will be pretty scruffy, so nobody's got great pace, but although Marcus has got better than most, his is a 60 flat, and then Murphy was...
This is what's happened to Stephen Richards and John Bowe. Stephen Richards, by the way, is down in 12th position on the road, and a touch-up with John Bowe at turn 1. Now, this could be the clincher during the break. This just happened. Rodney Forbes.
Well, this was actually for the lead of the race, because Forbes had not stopped at that point, so it was for position, and it looked as though there's been contact there, and the 0-0 car is...
And I'm pretty sure it was over the back of the circuit.
I think it might have been Rodney Forbes, because the lead guys had gone through on Rodney. Oh, and Rodney's turned the car around at turn 4 and had nowhere to go but to collect the side of Scaife. Look at that. And that's why there's a big hole drilled in the side of the #1 HRT car.
Well, he started to sort of disappear off the timesheet. Tangled up in a few incidents today. This one, 2 wheels for Stephen Richards. And that's as Rodney's trying to get back off that.
Richards has got some sort of an issue with that car at the moment, and I think there could be some temperature worries with it. He's just back in about position 11. There's been some speculation that he may or may not have to come in, but gee, that's a lot of damage on the left rear of that car.
V8supercar.com.au is your official supercar website. All the latest news is Team Better Electricals. Dean Canto does a bit of grass work.
Whoa, that's the last corner just at the pit lane entry, so it's going to bring a fair bit of garbage back onto the road.
Yeah, look how much he scooped up, and he wasn't really in the dirt that much.
Watch it all come out.
How much.
Look at it.
Leans on the brakes and it spurts out the front. Darryl Beattie in pit lane.
Yeah, I just spoke to Jeff Grett to get an update on the Scaife incident with Forbes. He said, obviously he spun in front of him. He said it has damaged the front left guard on Mark's car. Watching him come into turn 1 here now on the outside. Neil.
You know what about Radicic, Rusty? Every round throughout this year, he has finished much better. Big one from David Bernard. Just going to say that Radicic has finished much better than his qualifying performance.
He could be far enough around that this doesn't actually produce a...
Stephen Ellery
down. What is going on?
Well, that's at the end of turn 7 rather.
Is there something on the road down there, I wonder?
Maybe so. Or is that turn 1? No, that's turn 1. That is down the end of the main straight, and Stephen Ellery, watch this, coming down the main straight here on the right-hand side of your screen, locks it up really early and backs it into the dirt. Now watch this, flip it over. Oh,
it's not a real heavy one, so Stephen should be okay. That's got crossed up, and it's the sand that's grabbed the car and tipped it upside down, and that's what it looks like. just want to make sure that the master switch is off in the car. Bruce Ellery's dad just obviously concerned as he looks down there at turn 1 to make sure that that car...
And Stephen Ellery's out. There is a whole army of safety cars ready to cross the track at turn 1.
He's fine, which
Get
is
to
good.
him. And he'll just sit down and take a breather and watch how a 1,350 kilogram car can end up on its lid in a flash.
Looks a little bit worse than it was, and thankfully Steve's out of the car. You know what I reckon will happen here? This is a big chance to be red flagged. Actually getting that thing back on its wheels and dragging it out of the way. We're 39 laps done in a 42-lap race, and we're past the 75% distance. This is going to be declared.
Well, if it is, we look forward to Hidden Valley, the 29th of June. That is round 6. Greg Rust.
Matty, I'm down with Stephen's dad. Bruce, have you had a chance to speak to Stephen at all? Have you heard from him on the radio?
All I heard him say is I've rolled it, and I haven't heard from him since, but I believe he's out of the car and he's okay. So that's all I'm concerned about, that he's okay.
Most important, Bruce, before that, had he reported a problem with the car? The back end seemed to step around suddenly.
He just said as he went down here that when he went to go for the brakes, he had no brakes at all. He said, I'm just a passenger.
Thanks, Bruce.
We may be able to shed some more light on this. Remember, we saw David Bernard go off. Well, look at this. David Bernard there has contact with Stephen Ellery right there. So Bernard goes shooting off at
Turn 7.
turn 7.
Right near the pit lane entry.
And then at the end of pit lane, the exit of pit lane, Stephen Ellery can't go anywhere but straight ahead and effectively upside down.
Yeah, now if they can get this thing over and turn the turtle up the right way again, they might be able to drag it out of the way, but I reckon that...
they're not going to do it, Neil.
Word
is they're going to restart the race, so they must deem that it's deep enough in there.
To deal with... Oh, Paul Dumbrell down at turn 6 is buried deep.
And we'll have a safety car. At Cold Corner, Paul Dumbrell is speared off. And that just shows you what happens when you go off here at Barbagallo. As Neil said, surrounded by sand effectively.
This will be a safety car for sure. And now these guys can gently cycle up their tyres, and let's see what happened here. It looked like Paul just locked up, and once you're out there, you're gone. Look at that. Sand trap doing its job, but it means that he's
that engine out and see if we can do it again.
Russell Inglehoff, straight ahead of turn 1, buried deep, deep, deep. And I don't know what triggered that. Was he making a move on someone? We cut to the shot, the front brakes were fully locked, and he has gone straight ahead and out of business from position 5. And will that trigger a safety car? And I believe it will.
It'll have to, Neil. That's a very dangerous spot on the circuit. This is the restart of the race.
Oh, he's just had a big lunge on Greg, and it hasn't worked.
Oh, that's the turn 1 there. So there you go. That is bucket and spade stuff.
Several of them. Well, after all the good work yesterday, Russell's going to be pretty filthy with himself. Parks, there's a, what, 150-metre licorice strap
It's
there.
certainly not Russell's style to do something like that. It'll be interesting to hear that story because
I wonder, see, there's a bit of fluid down here. I wonder whether or not something else has occurred. See, just down there near the front right, and obviously that can happen after the sand, but...
I mean, he's got on the brake. No, I mean, obviously you try and get off the brake and save the tyre as much as you can if you're going to lock one up, but it's just locked up and kept going. So it'd be interesting to have a look at actually what did happen there.
There might be more to the story.
He's playing with the car, and I'd suggest if it was all okay, he'd be just walking away from it. But obviously there's something wrong there.
Could it have been a jammed throttle? We'll get on the job and get the boys down there in the pit lane and find out. That's very weird, because normally what would happen is, you say, you'd modulate the brake and you'd make some attempt to try and get the car to turn. And just Russell's language hanging around the car here kind of suggests to me something weird has occurred there.
Well, he's obviously getting back in the car, but I mean, obviously when you do lock the brake and you're in a situation like that, you want to try and get off that brake pedal.
Qualifying, 6th in race 1 after qualifying 7th, and Wingcup has finally given up and gone off the track. He held it together on turn 1 but couldn't do the same down at turn 6.
Yes.
Onto the back straight.
Well, that John has just confirmed in that interview what you were talking about, that they don't have the best tyre option on Craig's car at the moment, which is exaggerating his problems. Here's a replay, the Strathfield replay of what happened down at turn 6, and it's Morris and Whincup, and contact there, and Whincup ending up out in the boonies, but dropping a bunch of placings, but at least he didn't end up buried in the sand.
Darryl Beattie in pit lane.
Way out in the marbles there. It's an awkward position to be in. Conville buys in here. Oh, someone's buried in deep.
That's a big one from Paul Morris. At turn 7, that's definite safety car material. He went flying in there and somehow managed to get it back down on the ground, shakes his head, can't understand what's happened.
This will give a few people's tyres an important breather. Just sometimes when they pressure down and cool out a little bit, and then you have another go on them, they actually they come back with a bit more pace. Here, look up in the top of frame there, you'll see that he would have been behind Bradley and in front of Glenn, I think, on the way down in there to 7. Now, whether there's been any helping hand, I don't know, but he's gone in sideways and the sand has grabbed the car, and he was as close as you want to dare to ending up on his roof.
Oh, so that's what they do with their exhaust system, I see.
But the front of the steering was bad, mate. Kind of understand.
There you go, the dude, Paul Morris, talking back to his Serum 18. The safety car is back out on the circuit. What's that, the 3rd time throughout this 42-lap race? We didn't have one yesterday. But throughout the practice sessions, I reckon the safety car did more laps back-to-back than the entire 32-car V8 Supercar field. Greg Rust has an update.
I'm down with Nigel Barclay, the crew chief for the Serum 18. What can you tell us? And I mean, it sounds as though something may have been broken or bent in the car.
Paul was complaining earlier. Obviously, it had a bit of a tangle or something. I don't know. When the Whincup car sort of seemed to disappear, and he was complaining about steering, and he's just saying there he couldn't turn, and he was suffering badly from understeer. But I don't know what really happened. He's not saying a lot.
Thanks, Nigel.
Cheers.
Well, the possibilities include having bent the steering arm on the front left from that contact down at turn 6, so maybe that's altered the balance of the car. Maybe he got a puncture, or maybe the car just wouldn't get to the line. Here's a replay. You're seeing what's happened kind of after the fact, but
He's obviously had a problem under brakes though, because he's coming off the circuit backwards. I mean,
yeah.
If it was an understeer problem, you'd expect it just to go straight into the sandpit.
Exactly.
But, he's got the braking gear and the car's turned around for some reason.
He had that contact with Jamie Whincup, as Neil mentioned, back in turn 6, and a puncture, by the way, was what ruined Paul Morris's weekend in Winton after he made the top 10 shootout for the first time this season and started from 7th.
This will be interesting now, because obviously with the field bunch right up, 6 laps to go, or about 6 laps to go, I think it is. There'll be tyres that are sort of well worn, but the guys can hang on to them. Now they've got cars right in the boot there, so it could create some great racing.
Darryl Beattie.
Point with Morris, guys, was that when I was into the pit lane, when they come in for tyres, he was coming out and Radicic pulled out in front of him, and they actually went side by side down pit lane. Paul was hitting his front left on Radicic's right rear, so that could have been a start of some trouble.
That was in, did you say that was in pit lane, Darryl?
That was in pit lane, yeah. They raced all the way to the end.
Because they didn't hold back there. So front left contact, as we mentioned, back at Cold Corner. So maybe this could have played a part in it, or as Darryl mentioned, a further incident. That was the one involving Jamie Whincup, or maybe that further incident in pit lane.
And if you recall, immediately afterwards, there was a bit of smoke coming off there from where the guard had folded down on the tyre, or the splitter had pushed back onto the tyre.
Whatever the situation, Paul Morris is headed for a new front splitter, and Jamie Whincup has just given up the ghost. That's a very peculiar situation.
It's halfway down the back straight between turns 6 and 7 by the look of it.
Stay in front of Murph, but certainly brought Murph right up to the picture there for third position.
Oh, look at Lowndes.
Oh, and contact with Simon Wills. Into the dirt they both go. Lowndes was so messy at the end of that long straight. Big lock-up. Look at Wills trying to extricate the Team Dynamic car. That's not going anywhere, and either is Craig Lowndes until they get the tow trucks.
Just give me a bloody shovel here.
There you go. Looks like Craig locked up right front there and just wasn't able to pull it up.
Yeah, he was got out of shape and unfortunate incident ended up with them both in the kitty litter down there. And I wonder whether race director Tim Schenken will, in fact, bring out the yellow flag or the safety car. Here's a replay. Strathfield replay might tell us more. CL gets all locked up, and he's just goes straight ahead, whacks straight into the back of Wills.
It's quite a long way back.
He was, wasn't he, mate?
It wasn't like he was even trying to overtake him.
Look at the margin. Look, as you said, front right. He's tried to modulate it, and he hasn't been able to get the job done. He's just given him a whack in the rear. It's pretty clear cut, and no safety car. They will let the race finish, which is probably a good turn 4. Up into the valley for the first time. This is turn 5, 65 kilometres per hour. Ambrose is running with Scaife. Oh, a bit of drama here in the pack as one of the team dynamic cars turns Bradley Jones around Jason Richards. That started about 40 or 50 metres earlier than that. One of the Shell cars took an opportunity to go through on the inside while that was all unfolding. And that further delays some of the key players at the...
And a few of the answers that they were looking for. Here's back to the mess at turn 5 involving Jason Richards. And in the end, as probably mentioned, it started sort of 40, 50 metres back to where the impact happened. And Bradley Jones is left facing the wrong way. What about
his brother Neil there? A little bit concerned about the Aussie Mail Ford wandering around on its tyres at the moment. He can't see. Brad reckons he won't be able to see any visible evidence of that. Kim's looking over the pit wall at the moment. Stephen Johnson's left rear tyre had a lot of damage to the rim. He's not sure who hit him.
Well, the Aussie Mail car will no doubt have damage to suspension somewhere as a result of that contact with Jason Richards, so they may have an alignment issue. Bernard runs wide at 4. We saw Stephen Ellery out in the boonies down at turn 1. And Craig Lowndes has got the rear bumper assembly hanging off the back of the Cat car. Look at the chaos there. 3 cars wide up into turn 5 at the Valley. Anthony Tratt hangs the tail on the exit. Ingle continues to blast his way through this pack at the moment.
This will be Stephen Ellery in the Super Cheap Auto Ford, a victim at turn 1. He gave SBR their first championship round win here at Hidden Valley. That's Mark Noski going off-road.
Typical time loss in a pit stop here. It's about 45 seconds from your departure from your normal lap speed time profile to where you rejoin your normal lap speed time profile. The really good stops last year were in the high 30s, but on average it was about 44-45. It's Mark Noski looping the AU Falcon around at turn 1. A lot of fires in this area over the way into 5 then. There's a bit of aggravation. Locked rear brakes for Russell Ingle on the way into turn 1 as he tried to go underneath Anthony Tratt. Made a mistake. Greg Ritter went with him. So it's not been a good weekend for Russell Ingle. Here's the replay. And it was as a result of being on the dirty side of the racetrack. And then right at the very end of the stop when the temperature grows in the rear brakes, they've locked up and off he's gone. And you can imagine the words.
Help.
And here's a replay of Greg Ritter again, and this time it's Dumbrell on the outside, just trying to take avoiding action there.
Brothers Racing, it's really ugly. This is what's been spent on repairs for Russell's car since the start of 2003. And trouble for Mark Larkham again. Time and again he's found himself in trouble at turn 1. He was caught wide. Look at the flame coming out there. And now you know why there's so many grass fires, but they've chopped.
Don't go too far back, Jay.
Awkward spot to get out of too. John Bow had a couple of good trips throughout there in 2002.
Oh, he's just got in there too hot, got over the ripple strip.
I don't know. He clouded the issue for us. Now, this is what happened with Ingle. Remember when we left you, they were tapping on each other's doors and Ingle just did the big switchback and got him. That only happened just as we came back.
Well, Max drove so defensively. He drove right down the inside and just made his corner speed. His mid-corner speed was appallingly slow, and then Bezzy gets him as well. And I think Craig Baird buys into it. So Max just actually, he triggered that himself by being so shallow on the way into Ford. And is this...
Still Jamie trying to come back, so he obviously did collect the tyre wall in the end of all that.
Yeah. Big time. She's got 45 degrees of camber on the front right.
Safety car's out. Jamie Wincup's doing his level best to get it back into the pit lane. And that will mean that we're going to have about a 4-lap dash. Look at this.
Oh.
That's a sick and sorry beast. It's not going where he wants it to go because he wants to go... exact opposite way.
I got no steering.
The 20-year-old Victorian in his first V8 Supercar season, making his Darwin debut here. And with his teammate Garth Tander, they've deployed the new cool suit for this round at keeping the temperature down. So the safety car is letting the field go past to pick up the leader. And there it is, Marcus Ambrose.
It looked as though he did it on his own as well. I'm a bit puzzled as to why we've got a safety car at this point. Greg.
Well, I'm down here with Gary Rogers, Neil. You're doing a few Hail Marys before the start of the race, but the bloke upstairs hasn't been too kind to you.
I believe in that big fella upstairs. He's helped us a lot.
What happened as far as Jamie's concerned? Have you spoken to him on the radio?
I haven't spoken to him. He just got on the radio and said there was no steering, but I'd say that happened when he hit the bank. I think he's just had a lose. He's young, he's impetuous, he's having a bit of a go, and you hate it, but it's going to happen from time to time.
Quickly, the weekend didn't start too well for Garth, but going exceptionally well at the moment.
We've been working hard on the new car, and I mean, you know, it's just disappointing when you put the time and the result doesn't come, but look, we're heading in the right direction. I'm sure we'll get back where we were.
Cheers, Gary.
Thanks, Greg.
For Garth Tander, who moves up a spot. Richards is up to 4th as well in car 11, and Kelly's been turned hard into the wall. That will be huge damage to the right-hand side of that car. Very likely to prompt a safety car. Ripped a wheel off the car as well. Heavy contact for Kelly. We hope he's okay.
Big jolt for Todd Kelly. He's okay. He's talking. Well, that was him onto the radio, back to the Holden Racing team, and the marshals are straight there. Big impact. And a few gingerly steps for Todd Kelly. 7th in race 1, 24th in race 2. And now a shake of the head. Mark Larkham also caught up in that drama. Yellow flags, safety car out onto the circuit.
Let's have a look up the back of the pack here. And what has happened, you can't really, actually it could be that Lowndes and Kelly made contact. But it's so difficult, masked by so many cars. This is the in car of the start. The race to the first corner. Ambrose outbrakes Scaife a little, but it puts Scaife just high and wide. It was enough for Tander to come through the inside. There he is, a little kiss of the doors. And then Richards tucks in behind there as well. It's a good start for him. It's going to take a little while for these cars to be cleaned up. This will put them in safety car limp mode for a little while everybody settles down and has a think about it. This is the view from Mark Scaife's car. Little jolt of the car under the gear change, and then there's Marcus. Because he's on the inside line, he's just a bit better positioned at that critical point where they're applying the brakes, and there you see Tander go through to second. Ideally, Mark would have wanted to be further to the left to get the slightly cleaner track. And HRT be frustrated and concerned that one of their cars has had a huge accident.
Todd Kelly racing for Kmart was 4th overall last year at Hidden Valley, this time for HRT. He's going to slide considerably down the list. Put in his
look at that.
second best qualifying performance of the year to be
Look at that damage,
here.
Matthew, just that car there, the whole wheel hub assembly, it's ripped suspension components out, and on the other side of that car is where all the damage is. There's
somebody going wide. Oh, that's one of the Kmart cars, so that'd be young Rick Kelly. And there's big panel damage on one of the Orcon cars, and Rick joins his brother Tom as a spectator.
At least he's got all 4 wheels on his car at the conclusion of that, and more aggravation here up at turn 4. And this is Mark Noski, and I think it's Paul Wheel in the Team Brock car.
I just wonder how much debris was left on the track when the bucket
Safety
as well.
car.
Safety car, because Paul Dumbrell's race is over. He's over the tyre wall. And some fairly intense damage to the front right. So the Audi safety car has been called upon once again on lap 20.
That's a get out of jail card for Mark Scaife. And, you know, Marcus got a terrific break there when Canto was mixed up in that pack. What's happened here? Well, Oh, I can tell you what's happened here. He's run into the back of somebody, damaged the radiator, and it's fried itself. And what you're seeing there now is the end result of the engine running with no water, or certainly pretty darn hot. So he's ended up in the back of someone that's done pretty substantial damage around the front of the car.
I don't know if that's a smile or a grimace. Maybe
It's definitely not a smile.
maybe a mixture of the two. Paul Dumbrell is getting a very steep learning curve in the world of V8 Supercars. Last year's Konica champion. This is the first time that he's raced here at Darwin. And
of course, Tander would have been wanting to get on with it because the 3 lead guys got such a good jump. And car 7, Rodney Forbes, turn around there at the turn 5 hairpin.
it's just the front angle of it. Digs up a little bit more dirt, rejoins the race. This is the fight between Whincup and Craig Lowndes. Now they touch each other there, so that's one.
You see Jamie's gone to the inside to cover, and then Craig's then just jammed it up the inside, grabbed the gas pedal, got track position back from him, and
got him again. In terms of the championship, David Bernard's day appears to be over.
he was shortchanged a bit in the first stop there. He got to go.
The championship point score, another incident down here at turn 4. Greg Ritter in the double O car. Spun around and nothing too major to speak of. Let's get down to pit lane. Darryl Beattie.
I'm Danny with Todd Kelly.
Frustrated, and clearly what's happened is that Tander has tried to hustle it on. Oh, Richards. Well, that's not pretty.
That was pretty high-speed impact.
In yesterday's first race, so...
Oh, speaking of, can you believe it? Can you believe it? Jason Bargwanna holding on to a top 10 finish. And
then Jason Bright, and then this battle here as Murphy now is ideally positioned to get up the inside if he's strong enough under brakes, and he is.
And that'll take Greg Murphy up to 6th position.
Oh.
Contact between Murphy and Team Dynamic. Wills goes off. David Bernard almost follows him deep, heavy into brakes at turn 3.
A bit hard to work out what exactly occurred then between Wills and Murphy. It looked like a clean pass, but maybe Murphy understeered wide under brakes at the end of that stop. No doubt we'll get another view of it. Here it is, Strathfield replay. So what happens here? Greg gets crossed up. He locked the rear brakes, and as he applied the opposite lock to the steering, it carted him into the path of Wills, who then got dragged out into the dirty part of the track and then went further. He got the job done. The total time loss for a fuel stop here.
Oh, that's Dean Canto off at turn 3, 360, and David Bernard just misses out on a wing in the face.
You know how that happened? He picked the throttle up as the thing was rotating in an effort to try and catch it, and it almost ended in tears with him making contact with David. I was going to say the danger at Queensland Raceway is that the total time loss from pit in, the fuel stop and pit out can be 55 to 60 seconds. And if you're more than 12 seconds behind the leader, you obviously go a lap down. So if you go a lap down, it can be bad news. Here's the replay, and he just gets out in the grey, runs out of lock.
That was stage 1 of that, and that is stage 2. Wow, that's close.
They have very little in the way of steering lock available.
He gets back on and
clearly. I was crying. The exhaust was broken, so it's pretty gassy, and there's a bit of action.
Oh, Dumbrell versus Larkham. And Dumbrell comes off worse for wear into the dirt and now has to get it back onto the track, which he does so. And it was a case of take no prisoners there from Mark Larkham as he came through on the inside of turn 5. And that was battle for 19th and 18th position. Crunch, crunch, crunch. Get out of my way.
I think McConville's actually made a nice little gain out of that as well. So as Paul was out in the grass, he was able to make a couple of extra metres. Here's another view of it. Well, Larko was certainly well and truly up the side there, and 2 into 1 doesn't go. It doesn't take much to bump one of these things off the road, and Paul Dumbrell skates clear.
And what's happening to Mark Larkham? He's gone deep, really deep, and he's just going to dig himself even deeper.
Is that a safety car issue, I wonder?
I should think so.
He's off at turn 2. He's just gone straight ahead between 1 and 2. and he's a long way from anywhere where I've seen people before, so it may not produce the safety car. There he is.
That's it. Yeah, he is in a long way, that's for sure.
Well, with only 5 laps to go.
Dus és 100 fölfele. 100 fölfele, jobb 2 tempó, 20-ra bal 2 tempó, 25-ra bal 2 tempó, 25-re bal 2 szűk, és bal 2, majd 50-re jobb 2,